You might think that Plants vs Zombies is just a silly children's game, where evil racist plants subject innocent zombies to never-ending genocide for the fun of it. And you would be kinda right, but deep down, Plants vs Zombies is a brutal and messy warfare simulator, where both strategic thinking and cold calculations matter more than anything else. So is it possible to beat it by using the strategy and thinking of a Chinese war general Sun Tzu, famously known for the art of war? The main principles that Sun Tzu emphasizes throughout the book are: all warfare is based on deception, meaning we must take advantage of weaknesses, force enemies to make mistakes, and in general create openings by any means necessary. To subdue the enemy without fighting is the acme of skill. Sun Tzu says that with a good strategy and planning, most of the fights can be won before they even begin. Know your enemy, know yourself, and you need not fear the result of 100 battles. A good strategy relies on not only knowing your enemy's weaknesses and capabilities, but also your own. So I will try to maintain these principles throughout the entire playthrough, but we have a lot more strategies that I will explain when I will actually use them. The first couple of levels are just tutorials, so the strategic depth here is pretty much an equivalent of you trying to play chess with your old blind grandma. You're gonna win regardless of what you do, so we might as well just skip this once. But on level 4 we can start applying Sun Tzu stratagems. First, lay yourself open to defeat, then wait for the opportunity to defeat the enemy. Instead of beating this level like a level 1 peasant, we're gonna beat it by utilizing the strategy of not doing anything so that our enemies could voluntarily kill themselves. Doing nothing gives us about 300 free suns and a perfect opportunity to counterattack zombies, so I start planting our defense forces only after a zombie triggers a lawnmower on a lane. After that, this level becomes a history channel and we successfully ethnically cleanse our backyard. 10 out of 10, need I say more. This is just the first tactic and Sun Tzu is already cooking. The next level is a bowling minigame, but regardless, I use the same strategy. After we successfully create an opening, I take the initiative and make use of our portable Ted Kaczynskis to deliver a message. We unlock the potato mine, which broadens our strategic possibilities. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Instead of planting our photosynthetic infantry as plebeians would do, I decided to fully commit to an unconventional vegan warfare. By only using potatoes and cherries as an offensive tool, we single-handedly bring back Vietnam to our backyard and force our opposition to question their every next step. Worth noting, there were some crack-driven zombies who could jump over my plans, so I had to bust a nut right on the battlefield to avoid an unfortunate outcome. Other than that, it was smooth sailing. Not only did we violate the Ottawa Treaty, but we also traumatized our enemies before discombobulating them. Truly a 10 out of 10. Now that we unlocked the Snow Pea, we can try another stratagem. When the enemy is at ease, be able to vary him. For this one, all we have to do is to make use of our cryogenic Mexican legumes. So I start with the classic lawnmower spongy trap move, and then after planting 1 Jack Nicholson per line, the game wins itself. It's a solid tactic that works, but the fun factor is just not there. We did not violate any Geneva Conventions, we did not commit any war crimes. A waste of time if you ask me. 6 out of 10. Pretend inferiority and encourage his arrogance. For this strategy, I decided to put my economical and civilian centers in the front lines, to make zombies think that we are mentally decapacitated. To my surprise, it actually worked out better than I'd ever thought, and my civilian plants protected my offensive ones. However, there is a minor issue. Apparently doing this literally violates Article 51, Paragraph 7 of Geneva Conventions, but in my protection, Sun Tzu made me do it, so don't hold me to that. Overall though, 8 out of 10. Very basic but solid strategy. It's questionable for sure, but I believe you can't make it in the history books without doing some historical shit. In making tactical dispositions, the highest pitch is to be formless. This time the point of my strategy is to plant in an unpredictable, asymmetrical way to drive zombies into Vietnam-grade psychosis. However, the downside of this tactic is that it works on me too. Trying to plan my plans without it being symmetrical requires focus of a Formula 1 driver. And it might come as a surprise for you, but I'm not much of a racist. So after planting around 10 plants, I physically felt how the right half of my brain started to hemorrhage out of my right nostril. Can't say I recommend this tactic honestly. Sure it works, but at what cost? 5 out of 10. For the last level of this chapter, I tried to combine all of the deception tactics that we already applied before. We got death traps and asymmetrical positioning. I know it's easy to say that this is symmetrical, but I would argue it's more like 50% symmetrical, which by definition makes it asymmetrical. Overall, all of these tactics actually work great, but the entire level was like Mike Tyson at a nursing home. The odds were already in our favor. The next chapter is about the nighttime illegal invasion of our backyard. We can't use sunflowers to protect our homeland, but instead we can use cheap labor. Speed is the essence of war. Exploit the enemy's unpreparedness. For this tactic, all we have to do is just to spam $0 mushrooms everywhere. By doing this, we instantly unleash Pearl Harbor and turn zombies into statistics. Very straightforward and effective. 7 out of 10. I just want to say that I'm a good person and I do not support cheap labor as a practice. However, when it comes to prices, I'm very open-minded. For the next couple of levels, I wanted to see if this tactic was a viable long-term investment, and I can assure you with the confidence that it is. Sun Tzu definitely knew what he was talking about. Might as well just make it 8 out of 10. We unlock local scriptures, and this is exactly what Sun Tzu was waiting for. Know the enemy, know yourself, and you need not fear the result of 100 battles. Now we can check the weaknesses and capabilities of our backyard immigrants, which is very cool and useful, especially because the next level has absolutely nothing to do with it. When you surround an army, leave an outlet free. By leaving one lane empty of any working class plans and strictly employing British stealth bombers, we not only create a highly efficient chlorophyll supremacist death corridor, but also give our invaders an opportunity to speedrun their veteran status. It's pretty cool, but I feel like something is missing. It's like Boeing's door plug. I just can't trust it. 5 out of 10. Move not unless you see an advantage. Use not your troops unless there's something to be gained. The next tactic would make Mr. Krabs sentimental, because for this one we have to not spend any unnecessary resources. We not only overwork our SpongeBobs, but we also don't pay them shit and finish a level with $700 in our pocket. Needless to say, I dedicate this victory to communism. That was easy, so I would say it's a 7 out of 10. Could be a 10 if we would save more. Victorious warriors win first, then go to war. For this tactic, we're gonna channel a high-level capitalist profit. Before doing anything else, I decided to establish my portfolio and waited to max out all 2 rows of sunflowers to start collecting my 401k payouts. To be honest, I didn't really like this one. I'm very patient, but maybe patience is just not my thing. Don't get me wrong, it works since doing something, but I feel like we were edging all the time. And if I didn't send a precision strike on Michael Jackson, we would probably lose. Not feeling great about it at all. 3 out of 10. Next level, I just used Know Your Enemy strat to counter Mexican contractors with my mycelium spreading radicalized mushrooms. An easy win. The last level of this chapter was like Joe Rogan's weekend. Shrooms were everywhere. Needless to say, it was an easy victory though. The only strategic depth here was in asking how much is enough. Now we officially moved into an all-white gated neighborhood and have a Pacific Ocean in the middle of our backyard. But Sun Tzu says this: water shapes its course according to the ground it flows over, which is a very autistic way to say that you have to adapt the terrain. Honestly, the strategy here does not change much, except for the fact that Trump could not stop the tariffs, so now we have to pay $25 backyard sovereignty tax to use our own water. Other than pay more for our homemade NATO installation, I again proudly violated 51st article of Geneva Conventions, and we win the next 2 levels. It's a fine tactic, but it sounds more like an advice, so 5 out of 10. Great results can be achieved with small forces. I know women will disagree with this statement, but regardless, for this tactic all we have to do is to export 6 highly motivated and highly clueless enthusiasts into suburban Fallujah and let them figure things out on their own. To my surprise, this tactic actually worked out and we successfully pacified our territory. Needless to say, Sun Tzu was right. Size doesn't matter. 10 out of 10. For the next level we unlocked an underwater R. Kelly, and I decided to use the tactic of subduing an enemy without fighting, in our case with trafficking. I had better hopes for trafficking strat, but apparently it only works on an island, so I had to apply an asymmetrical warfare tech. Not much to say about the next level, it's just a D-Day for the growth hormone deficient. For the next levels I applied already familiar to us tactics, pretending to be brain dead, using cryogenic weapons. This one was pretty cool though. By combining philanthropic Sub-Zeros with Punja Stings that we just unlocked, we engineered an ultimate weapon that would make Viet Cong emotional. The clever combatant looks to the effect of combined energy and does not require too much from individuals. All we have to do is to synergize our Pisum Sativum with California and watch how we just recreated Genesis chapter 19. For level 3-9, I went full in on knowing your enemy. We got all of the genres here: legumes, big nuts, human traffickers, forest fires. Our forces were so diverse and my nuts were so big that Olympic champions couldn't even jump over. And at the final level of this chapter, we take the initiative and continue the legacy of the Byzantine Empire by squirting out fire on the decaying crackheads behind the Dollar General. For the next chapter they transport us into Snoop Dogg's living room and we officially become legally blind and illegally high. That complicates things since as you can see we can see, but arguably we don't need to because we can employ the tactic that we used in chapter 2, which is to grow an unreasonably stupid amount of hateful fungi for free of charge to avoid wasting any of our prefrontal cortex resources. And just as I thought, the strategy still works. If you're ignorant both of your enemy and of yourself, you're certain to be in peril. So for this tactic I I decided to summon Thomas Edison Incarnate because we can see our ops behind all this Beijing vape smoke. These violent occupants tried their best to prevent the Industrial Revolution from happening, but I defended my light bulbs with the spite of OJ's legal team, and they did not stand a chance. For the next level, we just had to use the Know Your Enemy strat because now our enemy is sending unsanctioned strike drones right at our house. So to avoid any unprecedented results like in 2001, an obvious thing would be to counterattack them with our high-speed penetrational air defenses. Again, Geneva Convention's violating strat and a minigame. Sun Tzu predicted many things, but the children's Las Vegas was not up to the task even for Nostradamus. For the next couple of levels, I used the cheap Vietnamese labor tactic. Honestly, I thought that this strat would stop working eventually, but it just never did. That's what the kids thought as well. I'm gonna officially increase the rating of this strat to 8 out of 10. Cheap labor actually looks decent. For the next level, I decided to let sulfur dioxide into my lungs and applied formless strat. We're so strong that we don't have to see shit anyway. As usual, asymmetrical tactic is proven to work. I also feel like at this point it has inadvertently increased my IQ, so my brain is not going through menopause when I apply this strategy. The next level was designed by a killer with an unfathomable grudge against photosensitive people. Putting this level in a children's video game is a questionable move, but I kinda see what they were going for. It's like a natural selection for toddlers. Honestly, there's not much strategy going on, except for you trying to avoid having a stroke. I cross-referenced the Art of War, and the only thing that could be applied to you having an epileptic seizure is this: attack him where he is unprepared. I think they nailed it on this one. Those who managed to survive now are moved into the last chapter of the game that takes place on top of the roof. For this one, I used the Victorious Warriors Win First strategy that relies on setting up a capitalistic safe haven before establishing our vegetative Blackwater. As you can see, being on top of the roof complicates things because it has an incline, so regular infantry units won't work at the back lines. However, Lockheed Martin kindly sponsored us with HIMARS, so now we can continue our unauthorized homeless depopulation effort guilt-free. Throughout the entire game, I also never used cellulose-driven pit bulls, but from this level forward, I'm pretty sure I developed a parasocial relationship with the plant. For the next level, we use the classic pretend inferiority and encourage his arrogance by positioning our civilian buildings at the front as a vegetative shield. As usual, not much to say here. If a strategy specifically violates Geneva Conventions, you already know it's gonna be great. I would actually increase the rating of it to 9 out of 10. Highly recommended. Then I used our beloved strategy of subduing an enemy without fighting. All we had to do is to fill an entire roof with spontaneously combusting British cuisine and a couple of big nuts. Worked out about as well as Jonestown. I've got bad news for the next level, because the strategy of autonomously killing lawnmowers has officially stopped being viable. Without an exaggeration, this is my 9/11, so with a heavy heart, I have to decrease the rating of this strategy to just 5 out of 10. Surprisingly, Scrooge McDuck strategy still works. The only nuance is that we had to build a literal Great Wall to prevent illegal immigration unfolding in front of our eyes, but even that did not guarantee our safety, because some of these bombs have turned their ladders into a Roman bridge over the Rubicon and almost crossed our border. Next level, we continue the trend of illegal immigration, but now our border has turned into a black market harvesting the homeless at the speed of an Albanian coke charged taxi driver. We again employed the tactic of asymmetrical warfare, but this time I realized that I can plant my vegetables in a chest-like pattern, achieving Fibonacci levels of tactical autism. For the next level, we continue the legacy of Mr. Krabs and use move not unless you see an advantage strat. It sounds good on paper, but on this level we couldn't even save more than $100 by the end of it. On one hand, it's realistic, on the other it's disappointing, so I would decrease its rank to 3 Benjamins out of 10. For the next two levels, you already know I used formless strat. I think we officially perfected it through countless iterations like the Romans, so fuck it, let's just make it 10 out of 10. And for the final level, we officially go against my personal arch nemesis Elon Musk. Unfortunately, Sun Tzu could not even fathom such weaponized man-made horrors, so it is with a deep regret I have to inform you that he did not write the strategy on how to counter an Indian deep state evangelion. So our tactic for this fighter lies in spamming all of the state-mandated artillery systems and playing a Pokemon-style elemental matchup against this overly engineered dildo. Overall, this level is extremely straightforward and only poses danger to you if you're colorblind. With that being said, remember, if you poo-poo your pee-pee, you must be prepared to pee-pee your poo-poo.